Welcome to another episode of Full Circle Podcast. It's always your favorite brother Joseph coming to you live. Well, it's not live. By the time you get this will have already been recorded, edited, and popped up there. We always record minimally. Okay, we record minimally, and the reason why we do so is because I like to be raw with it. I like to be real with it. So, with that being said, got a couple of things I want to talk about today. This is going to be a different type of Full Circle Podcast episode. If you were expecting self-help today, if you were expecting a topic about maybe how to make your life better, listen, I do want you to make your life better. We can still do that. But what I want to focus on a little bit today is kind of more about what's happening in current events. And right now, what we have going on, if you've been watching basketball, if you've been paying attention to politics, if you've even been paying attention to the films that have been coming out, I'm clearly a very, very huge film fan, film junkie. I've seen a couple of films recently, Magazine Dreams being one of them. I'm going to get into a little bit of that today. What's been going on with this whole situation with tariffs and the economy that's been happening here in politics. We're going to dive into a little bit of that and kind of like what's that looking like moving forward. And then also we're going to talk a little bit about films, a couple of films that are going to be coming out, as well as some films that are anticipated not for this year, but are coming out next year. Before we do it, okay, before we dive in and go that route, if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, and you have not hit that subscribe button, listen, I say this all the time. It's free to support a nigga, okay? It is 1,000% absolutely free unless you don't want to. So go ahead, smash that button, share this with a friend, follow us on social media @_ Full Circle Pod on Instagram and @Full Circle Pod on TikTok. So with that being said, it looks like TikTok just got 75 or 76 days extension. They're still trying to figure out this whole situation of who is going to buy the platform. And so we're going to keep rocking with it as long as it's rocking with us. So we're building, and I appreciate y'all's support all the way up through now. Okay, let's lock into it. So if y'all don't know anything about me, if you haven't been hanging out with me, getting to know me, or following anything that I do, I love sports. I love basketball. I love to watch basketball. I love to play basketball. And every single year around this time, I really start locking in on matchups, which are majorly important, okay? Because you can kind of determine what a game series, like a 7-game series, is going to look like based off of matchups that are starting to develop now. This is when playoff season is getting hot. This is when everything is getting big. This is when people are really starting to lock in. The teams are really starting to, show their strengths. The starting 5 lineups are pretty much, locked in, tightened up. You of course can always switch things. Once you get into your playoff series. But right now we're really starting to see some really awesome concrete things that happen. So if you haven't been paying attention to sports, I'll just give you a little bit of heads up. Right now, the Lakers, they got Luka Doncic, which is probably one of the craziest aspects of the season, right? You have a star player in Luka Doncic that was in Dallas, right? Dallas just went to the finals last year. They, of course, lost to the Boston Celtics, right? And then, as a result, even still, they still had a great team, a great lineup, kind of put together with them. They got Klay Thompson. He just signed a deal. Obviously, you still have Kyrie Irving out there, who is absolutely spectacular. There's no doubt about that. But the Mavs go ahead and trade him away to the Lakers. Which, I got thoughts about that. That kind of comes a little bit across in a weird way to me. I think there's some stuff going on there. There was something happening, some underhanded, maybe not underhanded, but there's some weird dynamic there. Like, who trades away their star player in the middle of a season and you still have a chance to win? So that was just really crazy to me. But as a result of that happening, the Lakers went from being fairly down in the playoff picture, pretty much struggling, just looking to get into the play-in, to currently being number 4. And I believe it's number 4. Let me just double check that here. Let me double check and make sure I'm saying yes. number 4 right now in the Western Conference. Okay? Another team that had a very, very similar situation happening. My favorite team, the Warriors. That's my team, baby. We had a really, really good start to the season. We were 12-2. We were staying hot. And then all of a sudden, we just went on this stretch of bad games. We were just losing at home, losing on the road. It just wasn't looking good for us. Jimmy Butler wanted out of Miami. And there were some concerns, especially because of the fact that he decided not to play, or you could just kind of tell he wasn't putting in the same energy with Miami. There were some concerns that Jimmy Butler might come to the Warriors, but that it might be lackluster, that we may not necessarily get that same level of defensive prowess, but also offensive energy from him because his numbers weren't looking as great. Well, they were wrong. They were all very, very wrong. I got to tell you, right now, ever since Jimmy Butler came to the Warriors, we have been winning games. There was a stretch I think we went on, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was like 15 or 16-2. And we are doing great right now. I watched the game last night. There are some people that were saying, hey, listen, yeah, the Warriors are doing great, but how long can they sustain this, all the way through? Excuse me. And I've been so excited because what I just watched over this week, we went through at least, I would say we had a 4-game stretch where we went through some of the toughest teams in the West, if not the toughest teams. We ended up playing the Nuggets, we played the Lakers, we played the Grizzlies, and we played the Rockets. Now, we won 3 out of 4 of those games. As tough as that is, us beating the Grizzlies, it was a tough, tight game, but Steph got 52 in that win. Us then turning around, beating the Lakers, that was a game where the lowest that we had, or the most that we had in terms of a gap was only 5 points, or the least we had, in that game was 5 points. And I think the most was like 10 or 12, right? So that was a game that it looked like a playoff game. It looked like a strong playoff performance, and we pulled off that win. Then we go and we play Denver. And Denver, in many people's minds, they don't have Jamal Murray, but they're stacked in the sense that you've got Michael Porter Jr., you've got obviously Nikola Jokic over there. You've got you've got a great team, obviously Russell Westbrook and the tenacious energy that he gives you. You have all of that, and still, we were able to come away with the win. And so for me, I'm sitting here and I'm watching these matchups and this performance, and I'm looking at the fact that it's not just Steph Curry, even though he had 37 against the Lakers, 36 against the Nuggets. It's not just Steph Curry that's showing up. It's also the fact that you've got Podziemski that's showing up. He's scoring 20 points, averaging 20 points a game in these last couple of games in a stretch. You got Buddy Hield showing defensive energy, but also giving us, quality 3-point shots. You've got Quentin Post, who is typically, he's supposed to be a center, but he's also giving you 3-ball action, right? Then we can't discount the energy that Moses Moody has been giving us. We can't discount the fact that Jonathan Kuminga, coming off of an injury, is still giving us a very, very strong showing in that regard. And then on top of that, just top it all off, you got Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Jimmy Butler combining for a very, very strong offensive and defensive effort. You got Jimmy Butler slowing the action down. Okay, so he's finding ways to draw fouls, get to the free throw line, as well as setting up other guys that are on the court to be able to play. You got Steph, from, outside the 3-point line. And then you've got Jimmy from, inside, working inside the line, in the paint, obviously being able to give us some opportunities. And so last night's game against the Rockets is the only time that I would say I had a little bit of concern, even though I was like, we're probably not going to win all 4 of these. I would love for us to. Clearly, I'm a fan. But last night's performance, the Rockets found a way to shut us down. And if you were watching that game Sunday night, you can see very, very clearly the level of tenacious energy that the Rockets defenders, you got Amen Thompson practically face guarding Steph. You had Dillon Brooks, who had an incredible shooting night last night. I think he may have been 10 of 13 last night on shooting. I have to double check those numbers, but it's just absolutely crazy to see the fact that even with Steph only having 3 points, we only had a 10-point game last night. And at one point, it was a differential of 1 point, 2 points, 3 points, and then of course in the third and fourth quarter, I think it's mostly the fourth quarter, is when it started getting away from us. So what that looks like right now, currently, I believe that, if we're looking at what's happening in the West, I think if the Warriors, with their new schedule coming up, they're going to be playing the Suns tomorrow. Then they're going to be playing, I think they're playing the Spurs after that. Then they're going to turn around and they're going to play the they're playing the Suns, they're playing the Spurs. And the Trailblazers. Then they're going to play the Trailblazers, and then they play the Clippers. I think we can sweep those next 3 games. I think that the Suns, with Kevin Durant, I believe Kevin Durant's injured right now. I believe with the Spurs, obviously Wemby is out of the game right now. Chris Paul will still be leading that lineup, but you're missing a lot of firepower as well as defensive energy with Wemby being out. And then from there on, us taking on the Trailblazers, I mean, who did the Trailblazers really have at this point, right? So at this point, I think our biggest challenge is still going to be the Clippers with Kawhi, with James Harden, and that lineup over there. So currently, as the matchups look, I'm looking at this record right now. That's just talking about the Western Conference. Right now, the Thunder is going off. We already know that. They've secured a playoff spot. Right now, it'll be the Thunder versus whoever wins the play-in. That'll be coming up. Right now, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's got 29.4 points a game. He has been going absolutely crazy, and the way that team plays, they're playing very, very youthful. They don't look like they're showing any signs of slowing down. They have a deep, deep team, and they play fearless. Doesn't matter whether they're from the perimeter or inside of the paint. They are playing fearless. So I'm going to be excited to see how that matchup will go. The Rockets, as I said before, obviously it's a great rebuild, but you cannot deny the effectivity of Ime Udoka's approach to basketball. Same thing happened with the Celtics and how he took them to the finals when they were talking about trading that team away pretty much mid-season. Before the trade deadline. And of course, what he was able to do, I think that's going to be something strong to see. What I saw last night, Jalen Green exploding offensively, but we also have to talk about the fact that supporting cast, with Şengün getting those rebounds, with Dillon Brooks having a great night, still playing that pesky defense, with them being able to really lock out Steph Curry from being able to get away with a powerful shooting night. I think that the Rockets are a team to really, really watch in this playoff season. And so they'll be playing whoever wins the play-in. And then, of course, right now we're looking at Lakers versus Warriors as the current standings are. I do believe the Warriors will climb in the standings right now. The Lakers also could do the same. But LeBron and Steph, that's always going to be a show. It's going to be a box office performance. It's going to be something that we're going to be looking forward to. And who knows, this could be the last time that we see Steph and we see LeBron face off together. There's a lot of talk about LeBron retiring coming up. We don't know when that's going to happen, but I would say I give LeBron 1 to 3 years in the league right now. But we'll see. Anything could happen. LeBron is still a top 10 player in the league. Okay. All that being said, it's absolutely crazy to me that at 40 years old, LeBron is still a top 10 player. He is still a player that any team he goes to or any team he's playing for, he's going to maximize their effectiveness and might even be the best player on that team. With Luka now coming to the Lakers, can Luka help the Lakers get over the finish line and make a run all the way to the finals, if not win? That's something to talk about. Steph playing some of the best basketball of his career right now, really, really heating up in April. I mean, Steph he's like I said, so far, 52, 37, 36. He obviously had 3 points the other night. We know that was for defensive reasons. you can't play through 3 guys guarding you. It's just impossible, right? Obviously the prayer is that, Draymond stays cool, because last night he got a tech, and then, I think that foul call was bogus when he went up against Şengün and ended up popping him in the face with the elbow. But it's like, it wasn't a windup that he did. It was a purely like, he's taking the ball up for a layup, and Şengün was in the restricted area. So, obviously with Draymond right now, knowing his track record, teams are going to try to bait him into a situation where he goes ahead and gets super amped up. And so that's his kryptonite. It's a plus and it's a minus. So the hope is that we can continue what we've been doing, use the defensive energy of Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler, because that duo has been powerful. We've got one of the best defenses in the league in the Warriors, and of course our shooting firepower has been incredible. From the likes of obviously Steph, Buddy Hield has been shooting the ball well, but I think Steph and Podziemski so far have really, really been showing up. And it looks like we're now firing on all cylinders as a team with a great bench. So right now it's really big on legacy. I think that it's going to be a playoff game for the ages. Or a playoff series for the ages. I'm so excited to see what's going to happen. And then, of course, what we're looking at is Nuggets and Clippers. Nuggets have lost 4 games in a row, trying to get a little bit back on par here. And then, of course, you got Kawhi Leonard over here trying to really make a strong case, especially with all the injuries he's had, knee issues, and whatnot. But right now, if we look at it, Clippers made their way up to 5th. And, of course, right now, the Warriors, the Grizzlies, let's see, the Warriors, the Grizzlies, let me just check my standings really quickly here. The Warriors, the Grizzlies, the Timberwolves, and I believe Clippers are in a 4-way tie right now. So we're locked in a 4-way tie, and these next 4 games are going to determine what happens. So we're going to be locked in for that. Next time we'll be talking a little bit more about what's happening with the Eastern Conference, but I'll dive into that just very, very briefly. Right now, the Cavs are number 1. They've been number 1 the entire season, playing very, very well. Darius Garland right now is a 20 point per game standout. And what I've been seeing a lot, especially with Evan Mobley, a lot of interior force and dominance. So right now they've had strong regular season power. They are a stacked team. I'm not surprised by this effort, especially, Donovan Mitchell leading that team. But the fact that Kenny Atkinson, who used to be a Warriors assistant coach, is also over there. So, he's bringing some of that expertise into the locker room, onto the court. So, it's something to see. Will they be able to take the regular season energy, bring that into the playoffs? It's yet to be seen, but there's nothing to stop me from believing that they can make a deep run. With that being said, you've got the Celtics right now. They're looking to defend that title and especially go back to the finals again this year. They are number 2 in the East, and they are showing no signs of laziness on their efforts. Of course, from what you're looking at with that matchup here, they've won 2 of their last games. They are 58-20. But right behind them are the Knicks. And the Knicks and the Pacers as well. They look really, really good right now. I want to give an honorable mention. The Pistons being top 6 in the East is crazy. I don't think anybody fully expected that. And while I don't think they'll make a strong run or a deep run into the playoffs, I think we got to start paying attention to what they've been doing. The Pistons have been playing really, really great basketball. And for all intents and purposes, while a lot of people counted them out, they are having strong showings right now. So right now, I think what I'm seeing from the Celtics, I believe that they will go pretty far into the postseason. I would love to see an Eastern Conference matchup against them versus the Knicks or the Pacers. But, Cavs right now, they might give them a run for their money, especially as we start getting towards the Eastern Conference Finals. So we'll see what happens with that. And then, of course, as I mentioned before, you've got here in the last two, Bucks and the Pistons. I know I mentioned the Pistons, but the Bucks still in there with Giannis playing the way that Giannis is playing. I think they do have a couple injuries, especially with what is bro's name? I know dude's name. I cannot believe I cannot think of dude's name right now. This is absolutely nuts. Over on the Bucks, I know he's currently out. Damian Lillard. I don't know how that escaped me, but Damian Lillard and the way Damian Lillard, has been playing or was playing has been great for them. But of course, he's out right now with an injury. I think it's a blood clot issue, actually. So he's currently sitting out. So, right now, we just have to see what's going to happen with that type of a situation. But in the East, it's currently looking like the Cavs will play, obviously, the winner of the play-in. The Celtics will play the winner of the play-in. It looks like the Knicks over here will be playing let's make sure I got this right. Looks like the Knicks will be playing the Pistons right now, and then the Pacers will be playing the Bucks. So, like I said, lots to look forward to in this. Lots to look forward to. I'm very, very excited to see what's going to happen. But man, you got a little legacy on the line, a little chaotic, scrappy teams, and it's going to be a whole lot of pressure. So we'll see what happens with that. Okay, in the short amount of time that I have left, I know I went a little bit longer with that segment, but I want to talk about what's been happening with the economy and with these, with the tariffs and everything that's been happening. So we're going to talk about this now. Everyone's trying to figure out what the hell is going on right now with these tariffs. Quite honestly, we know it's a sales tax on the consumer. Everybody knows that. The problem is right now, the economy was doing fairly well. I mean, inflation has been coming down. It's not maybe coming down as quick as, people wanted it to. And that's why we saw the results of the election be what they were for all intents and purposes. A lot of people seem to be a little ignorant on how this economic stuff works, but people decided to go for, somebody who, I guess during his administration, they believed that the economy was better. And so with that being said, it seems a little confusing that we are now almost 3 months into this presidency and the economy is reeling, stocks are shaky at the moment, and tariffs, of course, are back in the headlines. I'm just going to simplify this for you guys in terms of what just happened. So on April 2nd, Trump declared a 10% blanket tariff. That basically means there's going to be a tariff that is going to be on imports from 185 countries. Now, they claim the goal of this is to curb trade deficits and protect American jobs, right? By bringing back industry to the country, by putting tariffs on different things, more companies might be incentivized to bring back industry to the States. The problem with this that a lot of economists are having, we've got big name economists that have been saying this is going to raise consumer prices, right? And we're already seeing that happening right now, whether it's groceries, whether it's steel, manufacturing, car dealerships, car companies are already concerned they're not going to be able to sell these products. When these types of things happen, of course, small businesses are most affected by it, okay? Corporations can probably, kind of wait it out, but this is ultimately going to affect a lot of smaller businesses and, of course, people that are not super wealthy, people in the middle class, of course, people that are below the middle class, and even those in the upper middle class echelon are going to suffer as a result. So with that being said, April 7th, moving forward, he threatened a 50%, Trump, speaking of him, threatened a 50% tariff on Chinese goods. The problem with this is that the United States right now is deeply in bed with China in terms of our investments, in terms of where we make a lot of our products, to obviously save money, the outsourcing. And then, of course, this was a retaliation for Chinese, the Chinese 34% tariff that was placed on U.S. exports as a result of Trump's 25% tariff that was originally placed on China. The problem with this is This is already escalating into what looks like is going to be a trade war. Look at the cost, like expect the cost of your iPhone and any product, specifically electronics, coming into the United States to be significantly higher. And right now, investors are bracing for inflation and supply chain delays because of these issues. The reason why this is a big problem is because of the fact that, number one, this is basic supply and demand, obviously. But if people already cannot afford to make purchases, they are going to start to lock in and make purchases on essentials, right? So it's not necessarily that there's desire that's not there, but the demand is not there because people do not have the resources. They're looking at the economic future and they're holding on to their resources. This is what causes the markets to either crash, or this is what causes inflation to rise. And so as a result of all these things happening, Trump is saying that stocks will take the medicine, quote unquote, as he says. But right now, this is creating global market chaos. And I believe it's going to lead to a recession. We can't say it's a recession yet. We're still closely monitoring everything. But the reason why this is important is because everyday goods, like the stuff you go to the grocery store and get, eggs, milk, things like that, they're going to be more expensive. Right now in the stock market, they're having a minor sell-off. That could change into a major one. Right now, this can put major pressure on not just the United States and China. We're already seeing negative impacts between our relationship with Canada because of Trump's arrogant and largely ignorant commentary, about Canada being the 51st state, talking about how, the trade policies that we have are going to affect Canada more than us, when the United States actually consumes more than it produces, which means that we have to actually rely on not only a solid supply chain, but also great relationships with other countries because we're consuming more than we produce. And so right now, this is not just about politics. Some of you guys might look at this, you might say, I don't care about politics. I don't really think that's important. Well, this is affecting your wallet. It's affecting your groceries. It's affecting your peace of mind. And the protests in the country have been through the roof and off the chain, with 500,000 to 1 million people over last weekend gathering in protest of Trump's policies. So it's going to be a really, really interesting time. I will dive in a little bit deeper into that in another episode, but we're in some crazy times. We got people making wild and ignorant decisions, and a lot of this economic mess can be avoided. So what do you think? Let me know. We'll have to chat a little bit more with you guys about that at _full circle pod on Instagram. And finally, I want to get to the conversation right now about the films that are going to be coming out this summer. We're going to do this really quickly. First of all, I want to talk to y'all about 2 films that really stood out to me so far this year. The first one was Mickey 17. Now, I know a lot of people, may have had some issues with the storyline, the pacing of the film, and it didn't do super well at the box office. But the narrative in the film was pretty much about what happens when people start, led by politicians, forget essentially about trying to save the planet or make conditions better, and they start trying to go to space. And so essentially this guy who's down on his luck started a company. Basically, I won't give too much away, but he essentially got an investment from a guy that was a very, very powerful finance guy. He couldn't pay back the investment, and the company that he started was failing. So they, of course, came after him and essentially threatened to torture and pretty much kill this guy if he doesn't pay back the loan for the business that failed that he started. So he decides to go on this expedition to space because he's like, this is the only way I can pretty much get out of this situation, right? And so with that being said, what we begin to see in that film is, of course, they are exploring what kind of happens when people blindly follow one leader. Kind of sound familiar? When they blindly follow one leader to go on some sort of expedition. And of course, the human relationships, they talked about cloning in it, talks about a variety of ethical issues as a result. Fascinating film. Highly recommend checking it out. And then I also recently saw this film called Magazine Dreams. Now, I know that Jonathan Majors has had a really, really rough time, especially over the last couple of years, with what's happened with him in the media and his assault case. Whatever your thoughts are on that, whatever your feelings are on that, obviously that's been a situation that's been in the media, and they had a lot of court cases regarding that. He got dropped from Marvel. I think he's back at Marvel now. I strictly want to talk about what I saw with Magazine Dreams. That movie was not just an acting like, my goodness, it's so hard to describe. That was not just a showcase that was put on. That was a full body performance. He lended his entire physical and emotional and mental weight and energy to that film. And I have to say, whatever your thoughts are about him and whatever happened in that case, I haven't seen a performance like that in 10 years. I was having a chat with my friend Sam after we both watched the film, and I was like, dude, this movie's absolutely crazy. And he was like, I don't think I've seen a performance like that pretty much since The Revenant. So that's a movie I would highly recommend you guys taking a look at. Right now, 2 films to watch. Fantastic Four, that's coming out. This could set up the next MCU phase. We'll see what happens. As well as Thunderbolts, Jurassic World Rebirth, and Mission Mars. So let me know what movies you're looking forward to at _FullCirclePod on Instagram and at FullCirclePod on TikTok. That's all the time I have for today. I want to thank y'all for taking the time to listen. As I always say, have a great one from your favorite brother. We'll see y'all next time. Peace.